Listen, I'm gonna be fully transparent right now. I've 100% been where you're at. Maybe your credit score isn't the best, but you just want the opportunity to finally get a credit card, but you're just sitting there stuck looking at yet another denial email. And it feels like the system is set up for you to fail. And it's always that same annoying excuse where they say, unfortunately, we can't approve you at this time. But here's what I want you to understand is that your current credit situation doesn't define your financial future. It's literally just a number, and numbers can change with time and the effort you put in to fix it. And it all just starts with getting that very first credit card approval. That's all you need to get your initial start, is just getting that one first approval. So I'm going to break down the 5 best credit cards I would recommend to actually get approved for people with lower credit scores. And also at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the 3 credit cards you need to stay away from at all costs. So make sure to watch the full video from start to finish. So let's get into it. The first card that I would recommend is going to be the Capital One Platinum card. This is honestly one of the best starting points in my personal opinion, especially if your credit score does fall into those lower ranges. The reason being is because Capital One is way more forgiving versus other banks when it comes to bad credit or just getting started with credit cards in general. Capital One was actually one of the very first credit cards I got approved for when I just turned 18 years old. And on top of that, I had no credit history. And I still have all my Capital One cards till this very day. They also report your credit history to all 3 credit bureaus, which is going to be super beneficial for you in the long run. So that means all your on-time payments you start to build up with them will report to your TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax credit reports. Another benefit I really like about Capital One cards just in general is that they're super generous when it comes to giving people credit limit increases. For example, when I got my Capital One card, my initial starting credit limit was only $1,000. But now over time, I've built up credit history with them and it's sitting at $7,000 as an overall limit now. They also occasionally offer card upgrades when they see you've been using your card super responsibly. So after you've been using your card and managing it properly, don't be surprised if Capital One randomly gives you a new card upgrade offer within a year or so. Then on top of all that, this Capital One Platinum card has no annual fee. So it literally costs you $0 to carry this in your wallet. So 10 out of 10, yes, I would recommend this card to somebody with lower credit or who's just getting started in general. All right, the next card on the list is going to be the Amazon Store card, which is actually through Synchrony Bank. And the reason I put this one on the list is because if you already shop at Amazon, this is actually a really solid way for getting your foot in the door with a good store credit card. Synchrony Bank is actually known for approving people that most other banks won't, especially with their store branded credit cards like the Amazon Store card. And I know they are definitely a little bit more lenient when it comes to credit score requirements because I've personally seen people get approved for this card and let's just say their credit scores were not in the best position. However, at the end of the day, this will allow you to start earning cashback points on all your Amazon purchases, which adds up pretty fast if you just think about all the stuff you've already bought on Amazon within the last year or so. The only catch really when it comes to this card is that it will only work at Amazon, so it's not necessarily a primary credit card. It's just a great way to start being able to build credit while you're shopping for stuff that you're probably going to already buy at Amazon anyways. The Amazon Store card also has no annual fee and it reports to all 3 of your credit bureaus. So if you're an Amazon shopper already, this is a pretty much no-brainer and I would recommend looking into this. So next up is the Discover It card, and this is something you probably heard about recently, but Capital One actually purchased Discover. So with these 2 cards, Capital One and Discover, they're pretty much in the same ecosystem now. However, the application process is still the same and done entirely on Discover's website. With this card, I actually got approved for it when I barely turned 19 years old and had no credit history yet. And I know firsthand that they're willing to work with people who are just starting out or just have low credit worthiness in general. Also, if you're a student, they actually have a student version of this card that's even easier to get approved with. for people who basically have no credit history at all and they're currently still enrolled in school. With the student card, it's pretty much the same as the actual Discover It card, same rewards, same benefits. It's just basically designed specifically for students who are just starting to try to build their credit out. And another quick tip is before you apply for the Discover It card, make sure to use the Discover pre-approval tool on their website. This is cool because it doesn't affect your credit score at all, and it's basically going to tell you if you're likely to be approved before you actually submit your full credit card application. That way you're just not wasting any hard inquiries if your approval chances are not good in the first place. Then as far as benefits go, this Discover It card offers 5% cash back on rotating categories each quarter. So that means on things like gas, groceries, restaurants, and then anything outside of that is basically just going to be 1%. There's also no annual fee for holding this card. And another cool thing I like about Discover is they have really solid customer support. I've dealt with them personally and they've been super helpful. So for sure, I'd recommend looking into getting this card and make sure to utilize that pre-approval tool I told you about because that's an absolute game changer. Also, if you've been getting any value from this video so far, do me a solid and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos, because at the end of the day, this is the type of information they hid from us in school. All right, next card on the list is going to be the Navy Federal Cash Rewards card. Now with this card, you actually do have to have a Navy Federal account to be able to apply for their cards. However, I actually made a video breaking down how to get approved for Navy Federal, even if you don't have any military experience. So I'll link that video down in the description. But this card is honestly one of the best options for people who have lower credit scores. And the reason why is because credit unions operate a little differently from regular banks. They're basically member owned and they're not-for-profit institutions, meaning that they're actually incentivized to help you succeed and not just trap you in fees and make money off you. So they'll be willing to work with you even if your credit scores aren't even in the best position. Navy Federal is also way more forgiving than traditional banks because they look at you as an opportunity to build a long-term relationship versus just looking at you like a number based on your credit score. I've seen people with not the best credit situation be able to get approved for their credit cards, which is cool because that makes them more accepting with credit unions versus traditional national banks. Also, with this specific cashback rewards card, you do get 1.5% cash back on every single purchase you do. So that means no rotating categories, no spending caps, just straight up cash back on every single thing you buy. There's also no annual fee with this card and no foreign transaction fees. So for example, if you're traveling outside the country, you don't have to be worried about getting hit with any fees on that. And because you're dealing with a credit union, you also get access to way better interest rates when it comes to auto loans, home loans, and just better all over customer service in general. So this does build a long-term relationship for other products you might want in the future. So with that being said, they're genuinely there to help you out and not just profit off you for the previous mistakes you probably made in the past. It's honestly one of the most underrated options out there for rebuilding credit and a big reason why I wanted to include this on the list for sure. So I definitely recommend looking into getting yourself a Navy Federal membership and apply for this cashback rewards card. And again, like I said, I'm gonna put the video in the description on how to get approved for their membership. So last card on the list is going to be the Capital One Quicksilver One card. And this is another solid option from Capital One if you do have lower credit scores. Now this card does come with a $39 annual fee, but at the end of the day, once you've had this card for a while, you can always upgrade to a no annual fee card sometime down the road. Because Capital One does do automatic credit line reviews in as little as 6 months, meaning they'll automatically consider you for a higher credit limit after that initial 6 months you've had that card for. And also, just like that Capital One Platinum card I mentioned first in the beginning of the video, they're really good about increasing credit limits over time, especially when you've been using the card very responsibly. Also, this card does at least earn you 1.5% cash back on all your purchases. So that's basically just an added little bonus to be able to earn a little bit while you're actually rebuilding your credit at the same time. So I 100% definitely look into getting this card as well. And another reason why I wanted to make sure I included it on this list. All right, now we get into the juicy part because I want to talk about the 3 cards that you need to completely avoid at all costs. And I'm gonna be real, I can show you better than I can tell you because some of these cards are absolutely terrible. So, first up is gonna be the Indigo MasterCard. And all I'm saying is, I took a look at the fine print on their application page. And as you see right here in this screenshot, they're currently charging people 35.9% APR, and this should just straight up be illegal. Then next up on the list is going to be any credit card from First Premier Bank, and these are even worse because they will hit you with fees left and right. They don't give you good credit limits. Then on top of that, as you see in this screenshot in the fine print, it shows that they're currently charging customers 36% APR, which is absolutely insane. Then finally, there's Credit One Bank. And please do me a favor, don't mistaken Credit One Bank for Capital One Bank because they kind of can look similar if you're not paying attention. Credit One Bank charges so many fees too. They charge annual fees, monthly maintenance fees, and even can sometimes charge you a fee for simply paying your bill over the phone. So with this card, I would stay away from it completely and just avoid it at all costs. All right, so the biggest takeaway I would honestly say person to person from someone who's been at the lowest of lows when it comes to credit is just don't be ashamed of your credit situation. You just have to move strategically and use the cards that I recommended in this video, and also just make sure to stay away from the ones that try to take advantage of you.